Ladies and gentlemen, here today, we're going to rank every WWE pay-per-view of 2021. Last year, I did the 2020 version. This year, it's back, bigger than better. Kevin, Bonafide Heat, it's good to have you on.
Oh man, it's great to be on, bro. I feel like this is just it's elite Heat season. We're back, we're making content after we took the whole fall off and some of the winter. It's great to be here. This is the third video that we made for your channel. I don't know when this one's coming out, but we got a lot of stuff together coming out for your channel, and I'm excited to see how they all turn out.
Yep, this one's dropping first, and expect a Drew McIntyre awesome video and some more content very, very soon. But Kevin, without further ado, let's just jump straight to the chase here. I will start with the worst. The worst WWE pay-per-view of 2021, in my opinion, is objectively Survivor Series. Okay, Kevin, this show, there were no stakes involved with any of the matches. The biggest thing that happened on the show was Vince McMahon and a golden egg, okay? And everyone after the show was disappointed because The Rock didn't show up, even though everyone with a brain knew The Rock was filming a movie, I think, in Australia. So, Kevin, in my opinion, it was objectively the worst. What do you think?
Literally, I didn't watch the show at all because I had no, interest at all because the build-up was that bad. Then I get on Twitter maybe 2 hours after the show ends, and everybody's talking about Vince McMahon's egg, The Rock not being there, and Becky Lynch's butt. That's literally all everyone was talking about. You know it's down bad when you're talking about an egg and Becky Lynch's butt, or lack thereof. So yeah, I mean that's really all I have to say about the show. It's undoubtedly the worst pay-per-view of 2021. I really don't even think it can be argued. Every other pay-per-view, they're fighting for second to last. This one was guaranteed to be last.
Yeah, this was just bad. And then, I was going to say, the build wasn't good for this, but, I mean, with most of these shows in 2021 for WWE, the build wasn't good, so that's kind of a given. We expect that the build won't be very good, but the actual show, the matches literally meant nothing. Becky Lynch and Charlotte had a bit of, beef, but no one really cared about the match. Everyone just cared about Becky Lynch's ass, so that's all people cared about. And yeah, any other thoughts at 11, pal?
Nope.
Easy. So now we move on to your favorite show. Number 10, WrestleMania Backlash. Kevin, this show is notorious for your favorite wrestler, The Miz, and Damian Priest getting ambushed and attacked by zombies, leading to The Miz doing his ACL in the process. And Kevin, as a result of that, it had to be bottom 3, objectively.
You have my actual favorite wrestler, Damian Priest, being involved in this just sickening storyline with The Miz and Johnny Drip Drip. Damian Priest, he and a celebrity, an A-list celebrity, defeated The Miz at WrestleMania. And still, Damian Priest is involved with this clown a month after. What was the point of this? The guy lost to a celebrity. Why does he get a rematch with Damian Priest? And then zombies come out of nowhere. They're promoting Big Dave Bautista's new movie. So we have to have zombies there for whatever reason. I don't even know. I don't understand. I guess Vince McMahon got a cut of the movie or something. And then these zombies are on the show, and they literally they tear the Miz's ACL, which we all know is not a real torn ACL. He faked this legitimate injury to cover up for the fact they had a vasectomy on his reality TV show. Ridiculous, bro. I couldn't tell you anything else that happened on this show. I think this was Braun Strowman's last pay-per-view match.
Yep. Yep.
This was supposed to be WrestleMania rematches, but were there any WrestleMania rematches aside from this one?
I mean, there's probably some undercard match that I don't recall, because Cesaro, the only other thing that happened on this show, Cesaro and Roman Reigns had a good match, but as you've described, that's pretty much a SmackDown main event as far as the build and all that type of thing. So, Kevin, really, this show was a bit of Army of the Dead shameless promotion with zombies eating Mike the Miz Mizanen's ACL, Roman Reigns having a good match, and a fun triple threat match where one of the wrestlers got released 2 weeks later. That was Backlash, pal.
Yeah, this show was sickening.
So yeah, with that said, it had to be bottom 2. Now we move on. Number 9, Extreme Rules. Kevin, I think this show was the most forgettable and just void of build pay-per-view of the year, and that's saying something because there are a lot of shows like that this year. This Extreme Rules show, as far as lack of meaning and match quality, there were no zombies, Kevin, so it wasn't as bad as WrestleMania Backlash, but it was just such a forgettable show. What even happened on this show, pal?
Well, this was regular rules, if I'm correct. There was
Yes.
only one match with a stipulation, which was Roman versus Finn Balor. This is when Jesus Christ himself came to the arena and cost Finn Balor an opportunity to win the championship when the turnbuckle fell apart. Like, that's the only thing I remember from this show.
Yep.
Yeah, like Finn Balor was this close to winning, and then God just decided, nope, not today. Roman Reigns is still champion, pal.
Pretty much. All I remember from this show is the gif of Finn Balor on the outside, like, seizing like a fish when, like, the lights are going on and off. Finn Balor collapsing off the top rope and losing. And I remember the opener was, like, The New Day versus, like, Lashley, Styles, and Omos, which is, like, a Raw match that went for 25 minutes. So this show is number 9 because it wasn't as bad as the zombie WrestleMania Backlash show, but overall, just a forgettable, dead pay-per-view, I feel like.
Disgusting. Another disgusting pay-per-view event, pal.
That's great. Then number 8, this one is not in the bottom 3, so it's not like really bad, it's just pretty forgettable. At number 8, I've got the Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber, from memory, it was like a 2-hour, 15-minute show. Like, it was on these like really quick pay-per-views. The 2 Elimination Chamber matches were both like good. It was fun gimmick matches, I guess. The stuff with Drew McIntyre losing to The Miz, I'm sure, Kevin, you have some things to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, this show, I personally would have put it a little lower on the list, but, you know, by consensus, this wound up in the 8th spot. This show, I mean, the ending alone is just, God. They ended the pay-per-view with The Miz winning the title, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Yeah, because you had the Elimination Chamber match, which Daniel Bryan won, and then Roman just came out, punched him after he went through this agonizing Elimination Chamber match. That was okay. You know, Roman being the heel, beating up the Daniel Bryan, the underdog, whatever. But then you get to this main event where The Miz beats Drew McIntyre. This is Drew McIntyre's reward for carrying the company throughout the heart of the pandemic. He has to watch a D-list wannabe reality TV star, now Dancing with the Stars contestant, hold the championship belt. This guy was dancing on live television. He was doing salsa on live TV. He was dressed like a Disney character on live TV. And this is the guy they made the face of the company. This, in my opinion, this was worse than WrestleMania Backlash and Extreme Rules.
Wow.
There was nothing good on the show for me. Nothing memorable. The only thing I associate with this show, I just get memories of pain. I almost wanted to deactivate my YouTube channel after this show, pal. How bad this was. I thought I was gonna die recording this review. I was so mad. I was so mad after reviewing this show that I had to go outside. I had to go take a smoke.
Oh my god.
I was so stressed out. I got myself so worked up. It was ridiculous.
Now, as you can kind of tell based on Kevin there, I made this list. This list, what it's based on is if I had to watch all 11 shows, which shows will I want to watch least and which will I want to watch most. So that's the order, just so to clear that up. So that's the Elimination Chamber. It was just, to me, forgettable. I don't really care, but anyway, we move. Number 7, Kevin. Another forgettable show. This one, Hell in a Cell. Infamously, this is the one show of the year without our Tribal Chief on it. He had his match on SmackDown with Rey Mysterio like the night before. So this show, Kevin, you had Lashley and Drew McIntyre having an excellent fight in the main event inside Hell in a Cell. You had Bianca Belair and Bayley rounded off their 5-month feud with a pretty good Hell in a Cell match. And then you had 2 other good matches with Cesaro and Rollins having their 5th match in 2 weeks. And then you had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So overall, it was a fine show, in my opinion. What do you think?
Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio taking place on this show, it probably would have moved up against the pay-per-view that's coming next, at least. This wasn't bad. Like you said, just pretty forgettable. The opener, that was what, Bayley and Bianca Belair was the opener.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, but there was no reason for them to feud. Like, it was just a good match. It was just a collection of good matches.
Yeah.
The main event match was good, like you said. And you said Zayn and Owens was good. Rollins and Cesaro had a good match, but just a lot of more of the same stuff we had already seen. Like, it didn't really have any stipulations or the feel of a traditional, Hell in a Cell type vibe, that we grew up on in the Ruthless Aggression era and the early PG era.
Yeah, this show is WWE's way of getting through the Thunderdome era, because this was mid to late June. They're about to go back to live crowds. This is just them carrying on storylines that have been going since March. That's all this was. So no one really cared about any of the matches. But if you're watching the show just by itself, it was a good show. So that's coming in at number 7, Hell in a Cell. Then, Kevin, we move on. Number 6, this one, I found it hard to rank because generally the show is kind of forgettable, but you look at what was on it, and there's actually really good stuff. Number 6, I've got Fastlane from the fantastic main event with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan for the Universal title. 30-minute long match, Edge is involved, generally pretty good. And then you had my favorite match, or one of my favorite pay-per-view matches of the year, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, no holds barred. That was insanely good. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. And then The Fiend returned and gave us all a bunch of YouTube views. So Kevin, those three things were good. The rest, I legitimately couldn't even tell you. I just looked at the Wikipedia page for it. It's that forgettable. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Fastlane show?
Yeah, this is probably one of the better Fastlane pay-per-views I think they've ever done. Just like you said, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan carried, McIntyre and Sheamus. Those two matches alone are enough to put this in the middle of the pack. Just for those two matches alone. Those two matches are better than just about anything on any of the other pay-per-views that we talked about already.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It was just... I mean, this show is carried by two matches and a return, which, compared to these shows we've just listed, Elimination Chamber, Extreme Rules, Backlash, etc., those shows have hardly anything, if not nothing, that's worth noting. So, yeah, Fastlane had some good stuff, but, I mean, it's Fastlane. Like, how good can Fastlane really be? So that's number 6.
Exactly.
Then we move on to number 5. This show, I had a lot of difficulty ranking. I've seen people rank this as a bottom 3 show of the year. I've got it at 5 because I feel like no show with Edge vs Seth Rollins and John Cena vs Roman Reigns, no show with that in front of 50,000 people can be outside the top 5. That's SummerSlam. Okay, SummerSlam was a complete mixed bag. That's the best way of describing the show. But I feel like the good on this show, it outweighs the bad generally. So I have it at 5. Kevin, what do you think?
I mean, you had two great matches in Roman Reigns versus John Cena, Edge versus Seth Rollins. Those are two match of the year contenders on one pay-per-view. And for me, you throw in Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg, and that was a good match. The downfall of this show was the undercard was dreadfully, almost impossible to sit through. I mean, we had Charlotte versus Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. Mm-hmm. Priest versus Sheamus. Just a lot of thrown together random stuff. But
Becky Lynch making a shocking return and beating the face of the female wrestling division in 20 seconds. You didn't enjoy that, pal? What?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I mean, like, there was just... I think that alone pisses so many people off, the fact that Becky came back and squashed Bianca Belair. That pisses so many people off that they're just like, yeah, I'm done with SummerSlam. A lot like how I feel about Elimination Chamber. Like, a lot of people may not look at Elimination Chamber the way I do, but because I'm such a fan of The Miz, if you will, I tend to just dread that pay-per-view. And I think the Becky Lynch effect here is in effect with SummerSlam, and that's why people view it so lowly.
Wait, so Kevin, you're telling me a show that had Xavier Woods, film star online in the adult entertainment industry, Xavier Woods, squirting dripsticks on wrestling gifts and his girlfriend. You're telling me that show wasn't an objective top 3 pay-per-view? Come on now. Come on.
Oh my god. I mean, Xavier Woods, he's turned down more money from Pornhub than he's made in WWE, pal. So, I just had to find a way to fit that line in there.
Yep, you did it. So that's number 5, SummerSlam. Then number 4, this, in my opinion, it was the best show without fans. Royal Rumble. You look at this show top to bottom, and it's an easy show to watch. That's the best way to put it. The opener with Drew McIntyre and Goldberg. That was that match. I remember if Goldberg beat Drew, the IWC would have legitimately broke. I remember that. You had the 2 Royal Rumbles. Both were good. They weren't like the 2020 Royal Rumble for the men. It wasn't like that good, but both were good. Edge and Belair won, so you can't really complain there. And then you had Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens with a fun, albeit a bit botchy, but fun match. And then I think you had Sasha and Carmella as well. So, good show. Best show in the Thunderdome. Kevin, what do you think?
I enjoyed it. The return of Christian, that moment where Christian's coming out, he's making his entrance for the Royal Rumble. He has that big embrace, emotional moment with Edge. That alone could carry this pay-per-view, but I think this is worthy of a top 5 spot. Reigns vs. Kevin Owens, yeah, we had seen it already. Yeah, a lot of people have trouble buying into Kevin Owens as a legitimate contender for Roman, but the bottom line was they put on an entertaining match with all kinds of crazy spots. Like, they just went all out. McIntyre vs. Goldberg was really fun. And it proved that Goldberg will put someone over as long as they look like a superhero, pal. So, then Edge winning the Royal Rumble, bunch of nostalgia. He deserved it. Edge is 48 years old, wrestling for what did he do, like over an hour in this match?
Yep.
Like, Edge is 48, and he's in great shape, wrestling hour-long matches. So, I don't know, bro. And people were finding a way to complain, like, oh, we need new stars. I don't know. Like, what new star would you want in this position?
Keith Lee should have won the Rumble, damn it. That would have been much better.
Yeah, right? And then Keith Lee, like when I'm in Tampa Bay, sitting there with my fiance and 35,000 other people, everyone's gonna be sitting on their hands while Keith Lee makes his entrance. They have no idea who he is.
Wow. But yeah, that's that. I remember with this, people were complaining at the time, oh, Edge can't go, his conditioning's not up to par, and it's like, his 3 matches up to this point, a 36-minute match at WrestleMania, a 47-minute match at Backlash versus Randy Orton, and he went an hour in the Rumble, so Edge was awesome. This show was pretty good. Comes in at 4. If you have this show top 3, can't blame you. But to me, Kevin, at number 3, I've got the show you attended, WrestleMania 37. I'm counting this night 1 and 2 as just one show. I can't be bothered ranking the nights. Overall, WrestleMania 37, it had a bunch of like really good, cool moments. There was some like trash throughout, and there was some like forgettable stuff. But I think generally, the big moments at WrestleMania, accompanied with the crowd being back, as you can tell us in a moment, I think overall it made it a top 3 show for 2021. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I was there live, so it was a different experience for me compared to most other people. I was there for both nights as well. I'll say this as someone that was there live. Night 2 was a bit of a chore to sit through, not gonna lie. Like, they started out hot with Randy Orton and The Fiend, and then it kind of dragged until the main event. There really wasn't much else on night 2, but night 1 was really good. I mean, Bad Bunny and The Miz and Damian Priest, John Morrison, they stole the show. I think they stole all of WrestleMania. Just, who would have thought that Bad Bunny, a celebrity, a guy that's never wrestled a day in his life, has his first wrestling match at WrestleMania and was so impressive. Everybody was talking about him, all of Twitter, the rest of social media. Everybody was talking about Bad Bunny's performance. He's the best celebrity we've ever seen in a wrestling ring, ever get involved in wrestling. He took it serious. That alone helps the show a lot. You had the first women main event in WrestleMania history, one-on-one women's match. First women of color main eventing, like just barriers are broken at this show. And then you had a phenomenal triple threat match to close the whole pay-per-view. It was fantastic. And the return of fans. It was such a big deal. We had been deprived of wrestling without fans for a long time, for about a year going into this show. And we finally got it back for this one show. This was the only show with fans for the next 3 or 4 months. But it was emotional having Vince out there giving a speech with all the wrestlers, doing the classic Welcome to WrestleMania intro. It was really good. It was really good stuff, man. And even though there was a weather delay, they pushed through it and they put on a great show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, you tell that really well. And the main thing I want to flag, I know we went over this that many times, but don't you just still find it funny? The same people saying, who's Bad Bunny, are the ones who flame you for not knowing who Daniel Garcia is on Rampage. Don't you find that kind of odd?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, people that are trapped in the wrestling bubble. Yeah, Bad Bunny is the biggest celebrity in the world, the biggest musician in the world, at least. He's the most streamed artist on Spotify. He's known all internationally, all around the world. He's got 2 number 1 albums, at the same time. He dropped 2 number 1 albums in 2020. Literally dropped 2 number 1 albums. And then 5 months later, after second album comes out, or whatever it was, 6 months later, he's wrestling a match at WrestleMania. Is unheard of for someone at that peak of at the peak of their fame and the height of their celebrity to just turn up and do something else entirely. He didn't have to do that. That's insane. So that's WrestleMania. Overall, just a lot of good came out of the show. And I remember, to me, WrestleMania 37 will be remembered as the show WWE put there now on display with Roman Reigns, Apollo Crews, etc., Kevin Owens, that many stars, Bianca Belair, etc. That many stars look great at the show. So that's WrestleMania 37. That comes in at 3. Let me just say this too.
Yep.
This was the best WrestleMania since WrestleMania 31 in my mind too.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. So that's WrestleMania 37. Comes in number 3. Then we move into number 2. This one, when it comes to the number 1, number 2 show of 2021 for pay-per-views, you get one of two answers. To me, I've got Money in the Bank at 2. This show featured Roman Reigns and Edge having their one-on-one singles match. It went 33 minutes, which is pretty nuts. John Cena infamously coming out, making his big return. Thunderous reaction, Kevin. That was incredible. Then, elsewhere, just a fun show across the board. Bobby Lashley decimated Kofi Kingston. The Money in the Bank ladder matches were fun. Big E won the men's one. Nikki ASH won the women's. Charlotte and Rhea Ripley had a good 17-minute match. And just generally a good show. The main event was the main thing people care about. Kevin, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, this show was pretty easy to watch. When you look at it, it was a 6-match card. It was only this was also the first pay-per-view with a full audience in attendance. WrestleMania was 10%. So you look at a show with a full audience in attendance. This show went 2.5 hours?
Yep.
3 hours at that, and that's unheard of in the WWE Network era. So that's one thing. It was easy to watch. It flowed nicely. Nikki Ash winning was whatever. You had just good matches all across the board. Lashley versus Kofi was fun. AJ Styles and Omos versus the Viking Raiders was fun. But Roman Reigns versus Edge is the star of the show here. Yeah, if they had trimmed 10 minutes off of this match, it probably would be regarded as a much better match than I think it does. The respect that it does get.
Yep.
But for what it was, it delivered. This should have been the WrestleMania 37 main event, but it is what it is. Yeah, overall, just a phenomenal pay-per-view. Easy to watch.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Just an easy show to watch, which I feel like in 2020, there were a lot more easy shows to watch than they were this year. I know that's just me, but I feel like 2020 had more of the shows like that. But that said, nonetheless, Money in the Bank, fun show, as you say, the main event. You take 5 to 7 minutes off that. You take those 7 minutes of just rest holds and Roman Reigns just trash talking again and again to Edge. You take a bit of that off, and that match is incredible. So that said, Kevin, unless you have anything else to say about Money in the Bank, I can move into number 1.
It's that time.
Easy. So number 1, Kevin, I never thought 2-3 years ago that these words would be coming out of my mouth in any way that's not a joke. Kevin, the best pay-per-view of this year for WWE was Crown Jewel. Wow.
Yeah, it's tough to argue it too. When you look at everything that we got on this show, this was a WrestleMania-like card.
God, yeah.
For Crown Jewel.
God, yeah.
It was loaded. I mean, you had the star power. You had Goldberg versus Lashley, Edge versus Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match kicking off the show, RK Bro versus AJ and Omos. You had, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Yep. Big E versus Drew McIntyre and Roman versus Brock. Just really top to bottom, a loaded card.
God, yeah. It was one of these shows which always the really good pay-per-views like this, where it felt like everything had a purpose and there was a reason to care about everything. What you've definitely seen, and when we've gone over these shows in the past 20 minutes, most of these shows, especially the bad ones, you have to search hard or try and find one thing on the show that's genuinely has a purpose or a meaning. With this, you go down the card from the opener with Edge and Seth Rollins, the final battle with those two, ending off an incredible 4-month storyline inside Hell in a Cell, fantastic storytelling. Then you get Mansoor and Ali, which the story was actually pretty good, and for an undercard match in Saudi Arabia, it was really good considering Mansoor, where he's from, all that kind of stuff. You had that gold medalist of Taekwondo afterwards kick Ali, which that was, whatever. RK Bro and RK Bro, Styles and Omos in their Raw tag match. Just casually Randy Orton and AJ Styles in the Raw tag team title match on the undercard. Just casually. You've got Zelina Vega and Doudrop, who really gives a stuff, but Queen's Crown final, so there was a purpose for it. Lashley and Goldberg in this deeply personal feud that was based off Lashley destroying Goldberg's 15-year-old child. Then you had Xavier Woods and Finn Balor. Good match for the King of the Ring final. Big E and Big D in the WWE title match. You had Becky, Belair, and Sasha, the 3 biggest female stars, going at it for the women's title. And then Reigns and Brock in the main event. Kevin, all round, everything had a purpose. A great show, pal.
Yeah, I mean, Big E versus Big D, pal. That's the main attraction right there.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, yeah, no, this show was fantastic. It really was. It really was a great pay-per-view. I think you could make an argument that either of the top 3 shows that we picked could be number 1. But where Crown Jewel wins it to me is just in the 2 matches, the 2 main matches, Edge versus Rollins and Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Those matches were better than what we saw on SummerSlam. Those matches were both collectively better than the main event of WrestleMania 37. WrestleMania 37 was kind of missing another great secondary match.
Yeah.
Bad Bunny and The Miz was Bad Bunny versus The Miz. That was probably the second best match on WrestleMania 37, but that doesn't even come close to what Edge versus Rollins was to Roman versus Brock. And so that's what does it for me.
Also, can we take a moment to look at just with Crown Jewel for a second? 2018, 2019, I'll mention 2019 for a moment. 2 years prior, this same event was easily the worst pay-per-view of the year, headlined by Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez for the WWE Championship in a 1-minute match. headlined by Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman in an 8-minute match that went to count out, headlined by Team Hogan versus Team Flair, a 10-man tag storyline that was based on literally nothing, The Fiend and Seth Rollins running it back from their Hell in a Cell masterpiece 2 weeks prior. That show was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And then Crown Jewel 2018 was the year prior, Kevin. This show pretty much tops it. DX at 50 years of age versus the 55-year-old Brothers of Destruction, one of the worst matches in wrestling history. You had Brock beating Braun Strowman in 3 minutes. You had Shane McMahon being crowned the best wrestler in the world by beating Dolph Ziggler. Like Kevin, this is Crown Jewel. This is one of the worst events in wrestling. And in 2021, it was easily the best show WWE put on. Like, that's insane to me.
Well, my question is, what was the over-under of how much Vince McMahon paid Brock Lesnar just to get on the airplane? Brock probably made like $20 million to do this match. That's how much Vince McMahon paid to give Saudi Arabia a good show. Like, think about the last time WWE was in Saudi Arabia in 2020. What was it? Super Showdown in 2020 was so bad that it caused a global pandemic. Goldberg defeating Bray Wyatt was that bad. Like, look at the card for Super Showdown 2020. I'll just read you a few of the matches. You had The Miz and John Morrison versus The New Day. Angel Garza versus Humberto Carrillo. Mansoor versus Dolph Ziggler. Brock Lesnar versus Ricochet. Roman Reigns versus King Corbin in a steel cage match.
That feud had been going on for 7 months at the time. Continue.
Bayley versus Naomi.
Oh my god.
And everybody knows the main event of Super Showdown. Goldberg versus The Fiend.
Wow.
Like that was Super Showdown 2020.
Did you? I assume you mentioned the 25-minute gauntlet match that The Undertaker won after shooting a lightning bolt. He shot a lightning bolt out of his ass and then he won the gauntlet match. Like, Kevin, the point is here, Crown Jewel and the Saudi shows in general, in 2018, 19, and 20, Vince McMahon was literally just laughing as he's just dumping out money. Now, Vince McMahon put a bit of effort in. He put that money back into the show, and oh my god, it was the best show of the year. Kevin, any other closing thoughts on Crown Jewel?
You know what I think happened? I think the Saudi prince realized that Goldberg isn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think that's what happened here. Because Goldberg was in the main event of like every other Saudi show. You know, Goldberg was the big star, the big headliner. So I think the Saudi prince finally realized, like, hey, that's not Stone Cold. That guy's taller. He's more buff than Stone Cold. So then Vince was screwed at that point. Once the Saudi prince realized that it's Goldberg, not Stone Cold, and he's like, oh man, I gotta put in effort now. They're not gonna bring me back here.
Thanks for that. So there you go. That's been every WWE pay-per-view of 2021 ranked. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I felt like the list was hard to make at first, but when we explained it in long form, I personally felt like it's hard to argue with and say it's a bad list. You can obviously disagree with the placings, you disagree with the Elimination Chamber, what have you. That said, leave your comments down below, leave your likes, all that kind of stuff. I really do appreciate likes. I love charity. So with that said, like, comment, subscribe, and drill. See ya.